Tesla plans flying Roadster demo with SpaceX thrusters. Remote control at McGregor buys safety margin. But it also means the August reveal stays a publicity event rather than a regulatory test. Production units will need onboard autonomy that current FSD hardware hasn't proven at those speeds. Watch what happens to Tesla's insurance partnerships once the first owners demand coverage for a 250-mile-per-hour vehicle with rocket assist. This forces underwriters to either create new risk models or walk away from high-performance Tesla policies by next summer. Roadster coming very soon, says chief designer. Holzhausen's claim on Leno overlooks the thruster integration that still lacks FAA sign-off, pushing any customer car well into 2026. Suppliers who quoted parts at 2023 rates now demand new terms, or they redirect lines to Rivian. This forces Tesla to either eat margin or raise the $200,000 starting price before the first unit ships. Early reservations holders will then decide whether to stick or move deposits to Lucid. Tesla wins limited Nevada Robotaxi permit. The geofence restriction means the permit yields almost no new edge case data beyond what the current FSD fleet already logs on public roads. 10 vehicles cannot generate the volume needed to close the gap on competitors running hundreds daily. This forces Tesla to either lobby for expansion by Q2 or accept that Cruise and Waymo pull further ahead on supervised miles in similar zones. Early riders on the Strip will see the difference in reliability within months. V2L outlet adapter launched for Model Y Premium. 2.4 kilowatts sets a floor for what owners expect from vehicle power export. The adapter price undercuts third-party options by enough to set the benchmark, yet the power ceiling leaves room for Chinese suppliers to undercut on higher output units. Owners running job sites will discover the limit first. This forces Tesla to either raise the wattage in a software unlock or watch those buyers defect to Rivian's higher-rated outlets. Tesla launches certified pre-owned program in U.S. The 115-point checklist overlaps heavily with what third-party inspectors already charge $300 to perform on the same cars. Certified units carry remaining factory warranty that independents cannot match without Tesla's cooperation. This forces smaller used EV dealers to either become Tesla partners or absorb a 15% price cut to move non-certified inventory before year-end. Buyers will test the difference at auction blocks next quarter when volume picks up. Tesla faces $10 million lawsuit over insane mode crash. Does the average Tesla driver understand what insane actually unlocks in a Model Y? This suit highlights how undisclosed performance modes create liability gaps that extend far beyond one Virginia crash. Insurers will now demand telemetry logs from every high-performance vehicle sold in the next 2 years. Expect premiums on similar trims to climb 15% by early 2026 as carriers model these hidden acceleration risks. Other EV makers face the same disclosure pressure, or they absorb the lawsuits themselves. First Cybercab shown with integrated Starlink antenna. Starlink integration on the Cybercab prototype signals Tesla is betting robotaxis will operate outside dense urban 5G zones. The revised hatch isn't just hardware. It locks in satellite fallback that competitors without orbital partnerships cannot match quickly. Watch how this affects Waymo's expansion maps. They must either secure equivalent low-latency coverage or limit paid rides to city cores where cellular alone suffices. Rural fleet economics shift overnight once Tesla proves the hybrid link works at scale. Tesla proposes $10.1 billion Texas solar factory. Project Crystal Sun scale goes beyond adding capacity. Vertical integration here cuts Tesla's exposure to import tariffs that still hit every other solar installer in the country. By 2028, the plant's output will force domestic panel prices down 20% as supply chains rebalance. First Solar and its peers now have to accelerate their own U.S. expansions or watch margin erosion accelerate in the utility segment. The real pressure lands on project developers who built models around cheaper Asian imports. Giga Texas Optimus factory steel beams emerge. Steel rising at the Optimus site points to production intent far earlier than most forecasts allow. Once online, the humanoid line will target warehouse roles first, directly undercutting Amazon's current automation contracts. Expect those deals to face renegotiation pressure starting late 2026 as Tesla demonstrates cost per unit below $20K. Rival robotics firms must either license the Tesla stack or concede the low-skill labor replacement market entirely. Cybertruck production and shipping ramp at Giga Texas. Higher Cybertruck volumes visible at Giga Texas already strain the service network built for lower throughput. Parts variability will push warranty claims higher than sedan lines, forcing regional centers in Texas and California to double staffing within the year. Ford and GM's electric truck programs now confront a real benchmark on delivery cadence that their own factories have yet to match by 2026. FSD V14.1 Lite rolled out for HW3 vehicles. Legacy hardware now gets a throttled model that cuts compute on curves and intersections. Owners report the car hesitates where V14 on HW4 did not. This split performance will push Tesla to announce paid upgrades by Q4 next year, or risk losing early adopters to competitors offering consistent autonomy. The real cost lands on used HW3 values, which drop once buyers realize their car caps out at light features and resale demand shifts to newer hardware. Tesla Software Update 2026.21.300 deploys. Most drivers will notice smoother lane changes first, yet the update's quieter win is better thermal management that extends battery life on long trips by 2%. That margin compounds for fleet operators running daily routes. Expect leasing companies to start factoring these efficiency gains into residual values within 6 months, shifting negotiation power toward buyers who track software versions closely. Older inventory without the patch will sit longer on dealer lots as a result. Tesla reaches 10 million vehicles produced. Reaching that scale means every supplier contract now carries volume penalties that kick in above 9 million units. Smaller battery makers without dedicated lines for Tesla will lose margin share as orders consolidate. Watch for at least 2 Tier 2 suppliers to announce capacity expansions by early next year, just to keep their existing deals intact amid the increased scrutiny on delivery reliability. Advanced chip fab construction progresses at Giga Texas. Foundation work here signals Tesla will fab its own inference chips within 18 months, cutting reliance on external foundries by 30%. That shift lets the company lock in custom silicon for V15 and beyond, while competitors bid against each other for the same capacity. Samsung and TSMC both face smaller order forecasts once internal production ramps, and the cost advantage starts showing up in quarterly margins. Cybercab autonomous testing expands at Giga Texas. Night runs at the site reveal how the vehicle handles low-light edge cases that daytime demos skip. Regulators in Texas will likely demand expanded safety data from these tests before approving wider commercial deployment next summer. That requirement delays revenue recognition for the Robotaxi fleet by at least 1 quarter as Tesla compiles the necessary logs. Tesla China sales hit record for 2026. Those July numbers already outpace what most rivals projected for their own China output next quarter. The real pressure lands on BYD and NIO, who now face a choice to either accelerate their export ramps or watch Tesla claim another 5 points of European market share by Q2 next year. Price cuts that once seemed temporary start looking permanent when one plant can flood the market this fast. Watch the margin reports from those two. Elon Musk teases flying cars on X. Regulators have already signaled they will treat any new entrant the same way they handled the first eVTOL applicants. Musk's comment forces Joby and Archer to either luck in their current test schedules or risk watching Tesla's marketing pull investor attention toward a vehicle that may never clear the same hurdles before 2028. The real bet here sits on software that handles urban air traffic, not another hardware demo. Every delay in those approvals compounds the advantage for whoever controls the data first. New Model Y deliveries accelerate in U.S. U.S. customers taking these updated variants creates a feedback loop that Fremont and Austin both watch closely. Legacy production schedules in the Midwest have no room for another surprise refresh cycle this year. GM and Ford now must decide whether to speed up their own mid-cycle refreshes or accept another quarter of losing showroom traffic to Tesla's inventory. The data on feature uptake will decide if the Juniper update becomes the template for every other EV refresh in 2026. Megapack installations grow at Giga Texas Cortex. Factories that pair megapacks with on-site generation change the math for every hyperscale expansion announced in Texas this year. This setup at Cortex lowers the effective power cost for AI clusters by roughly 15% compared to grid draws alone. That margin advantage pushes Google and Microsoft to either sign similar behind-the-meter deals or accept higher operating expenses when they scale their own training runs next year. Energy contracts that looked routine last quarter suddenly carry competitive weight they did not before. Optimus factory site preparation advances. Site work wrapping now means concrete pours begin within weeks, locking in a 2026 completion date for the main hall. Traditional robot makers like Boston Dynamics must either license Tesla's actuator designs or find new customers outside automotive, because the volume from this single site will flood the low-cost labor replacement market by Q4 2027. Suppliers who bet on slower adoption face a sudden capacity glut. Every auto supplier with a labor contract in the Midwest now has a new timeline to beat.